Hello, Ryan here, aka Mac, and welcome. In this video, I would like to talk further about the upcoming survival mechanics and how weather will play a huge role in staying alive planetside. As always, a massive thank you to all my patrons. It is because of these guys that I get to make these kind of videos. So if you do enjoy my content and would like to support me even further, follow the link to my Patreon page below. So I'm sure we were all blown away, no pun intended, by how incredible the blizzard shown at this year's CitizenCon keynote demo was. Combine that with the players' physical and audible reactions to the weather conditions, and it becomes exceptional. Today I'd like to delve further into what we can expect to see in the game with weather survival mechanics once these systems arrive. Now, the weather system isn't quite ready yet, as there is still some visual effects work remaining, but the planets coming in 3.8 will be set up ready to utilize it when it is. Planet Tech version 4 uses temperature and humidity to drive the generation of procedural planets, meaning that plants and weather on the planets will be realistic and appear in locations that you would expect them to. The player status system version 1, which adds hunger, thirst and temperature to the already health, stamina and oxygen system, will require players to eat and drink at certain intervals. Don't worry, nothing too serious, but also ensure that their body temperature remains in a safe range. Now, when you combine these two systems, you get exactly what we saw at the CitizenCon demo during the blizzard. There was so much detail, not only to the blizzard as a weather effect, but also the effects that was happening to the character that the players would need to be mindful of. So things to notice which were demonstrated on the HUD was the external temperature of the environment. Now, we heard them mention that the temperature of Microtech without the blizzard was around minus 100 degrees Celsius, and when the blizzard hit, this dropped to about minus 130. Now, as soon as the player stepped outside, we saw a countdown timer for his life expectancy pop up, starting around the 5-minute mark. This means that you'll only be able to survive for around 5 minutes before you succumb to the elements if you're not wearing the appropriate attire. Obviously, this will vary depending on the environment and what you're wearing, but as the counter ticks by, the player's own body temperature begins to drop too. Starting around about 37-38 degrees Celsius, it's begun ticking downwards. This means that after a short while, the player will begin to show signs of hypothermia. His heart begins to race, his stamina decreases, his vision begins to white out and becoming a lot more sensitive to light. Plus, he begins to shiver, which was one of my favourite bits of the whole demo. Also, the audio will begin to change as well, and all of these effects selling the notion that your body is now shutting down. There appears to be many different diegetic ways of presenting the condition of your character to you other than just a traditional HUD or on-screen UI, a method that I much prefer and hope that they utilise this a lot more. Audibly, you could actually hear the character groaning, you could hear his breath, you could hear him shivering. Aside from the shaking and visual whiteouts, we saw the accumulation of snow in his outfit building up. The longer he remained outside, you could tell that it was extremely windy as well as he was leaning into the wind. All again helping you to understand exactly what's going on without cluttering up the HUD. Now, the weather effects don't only affect the player, they also affect items and clothing. When he obtained the environmental suit from the cave, because it was sat in this box in a cold cave all that time, it was frosted up. On the helmet you could see that the condensation was there originally, and it slowly started disappearing as the suit kicked into action. This shows how important warm weather will be, like hats, gloves and jackets. We will see with the addition of Microtech in 3.8 a new collection of clothing, and I'm hoping many of this selection will be cold weather clothes as well. Environmental suits like this Caldera suit will be vital when exploring planets of hazardous environments. This suit in particular is not designed to protect against weaponry like other suits that we have in game. It is purely an environmental suit. This means that when you're planning a mission, doing your research to ensure you know exactly what the location is like that you're going to and what you might need so that you bring exactly what you do need is important. Otherwise, you may have already failed before you've even begun. The visor accumulation effect is something very special too, and you really get a sense of security when he steps out back into the storm wearing the environmental suit. Hearing the sound of the storm while you're sort of cozy inside this suit gave this new sense of confidence, and then when he walked into the back of the Ursa rover, you just felt a lot more safe. Now, the wind strength actually varies depending on where you are on the planet as well, at what height you're at. exposed ridges or mountaintops having the strongest wind, while valleys or even trees providing shelter. When this system comes in, it'll just be extraordinary, especially if you get stranded on a planet like this in a blizzard while awaiting a rescue. You will need to try and stay alive using whatever you can find to reduce the wind chill. Keeping yourself alive for a few seconds more could literally be the difference between life and death. They actually said that the rate at which you cool down is heavily influenced by the wind speed, so this should hopefully lead to some very interesting gameplay. Anyway, this section of the demo was probably my favourite part. When we get weather on planets and other locations, they will begin to feel so much more alive. The player status system will require players to really think and plan further to determine what equipment they will need. And I'm a big fan of survival mechanics. I know there are a few people who aren't, but personally I think they would make such a good addition to this game. It's really coming together and I for one am truly excited. But with that said, be sure to hit the subscribe button. I have many more CitizenCon videos coming out. Do let me know what your thoughts are on all of this survival mechanics and what you thought about the demo that showed off the blizzard and player survival. Do like the video if you can't wait for weather effects, and follow me over on twitch.tv/supermacbrothers. Come and hang out with us live. Thank you to my patrons. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.